Code 3 Americans wanted to go over a news article that really illustrates financial bondage. Why are people volunteering to become financial hostages? For the life of me, I can't understand it. Well, I guess maybe I do understand it. People just don't know what they don't know, or they don't take the time to really look at some of the language in what they're getting involved with, some of the rules and so forth. So I wanted to point out a few things that may catch some by surprise, may not, especially younger people who haven't even paid attention to what may be going on. But here in the Wall Street Journal, they're talking about 401ks, and if you've watched other videos, you may know Tom Wheelwright's, CPA and Rich Dad Advisor on tax, one that always talks about if you want to change your tax, you got to change your facts. He talks about 401ks. He calls them 401 and praise. So I wanted to go over there, a couple articles here to really illustrate why I just can't understand why people are volunteering to put themselves into such positions where they're just locked in prisons in hoping the central planners will free them or adjust the rules to where their quality of life can be a little bit better at a time and a place that others choose it to be. I just I can't understand it. So I wanted to illustrate a few points. I will put the links to these articles. I'll copy and paste them so you can go read them if you're able, assuming the Wall Street Journal will allow you to do so. I don't know if they will without a subscription or not. But anyway, it's talking here. This article is June 22nd of 2022, and they're talking about big changes to 401k retirement plans get closer with a Senate vote. So the article, in essence, is the kind of the House versus the Senate proposals, and I don't want to get really into which one is better because, frankly, I think they're all terrible. But I wanted to point out some of the restrictions that people are signing up for and how it really ties to fatal funnels and why we're always saying is Code 3 American. This isn't for us. So look at here. It says Americans could wait longer to start emptying retirement accounts and face fewer restrictions on emergency withdrawals. Okay, well, fewer restrictions, that's got to be good, but there's still restrictions. There's still things that we're volunteering for, and I want to illustrate some of that through this article. So it talks about kind of the back and forth, the different policies between the House and the Senate. But here, bipartisan measure would build on retirement policy changes enacted in 2019 that, among other things, raised the age people were required to start withdrawing money from retirement accounts to 72 from 70 and a half. So that's already happened. And I thought, why did they raise that 18 months? Well, the reality is they realize people are retiring with less and less money. That would start a whole nother conversation relative to the Code 3 American piece. Talk about fatal funnels. People that this is them acknowledging people aren't going to have enough assets when they retire to have enough. So they keep letting them go longer and longer. What does that mean? Your work life gets longer and longer, but we're probably not getting older at the same rate. So it just means less golden years, if you will, to enjoy life and the fruits of your productive years. So that's something to consider. It's a plan, like Tom Wheelwright says, to have a 401k is a deliberate plan to retire poorer than you are today because your tax rates are going to be higher and your quality of life is going to be either lower in terms of volume relative to finances or lower in terms of volume relative to the amount of time you have to enjoy the efforts of your life. So we go through here rules that lock money up and need to allow flexibility for emergencies and other financial goals. So they're trying to balance these tensions between rules and long-term savings. So lock money up. This is why I say people are imprisoning their money. It's bondage. They're choosing on purpose to put massive amounts of their life savings into these vehicles that penalize them anytime they want to pivot. Look at what's going on right now as the stock markets and everything are dropping. Wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people. I know there are. I'm friends with people that are financial advisors or know at financial advisors, and people are wanting to pivot into other options, but they get penalized or they get taxed, and so it really discourages the ability to kind of maneuver as the economy maneuvers around you. I don't know why anyone would want to lock themselves into a 30, 40 year plan where they're penalized if they want to pivot, because certainly the economy will have a number of pivots in that amount of time, but yet they're literally tied up like a hostage and threatened with penalties should they not do what the central planners want done. So they're talking about discrepancies here between the Senate and the House. But again, one saying let's raise the age from 72 to 75, and then it's kind of a question on when we raise that age. But the point is, the age is going up. They're still talking about raising the age. It's because they know people aren't going to have enough stuff. So what they're saying is, just work a little longer, work a little longer. Okay. That's part of it. And they're also saying that you can keep money in there longer to allow you to build wealth a little bit longer before you have to start taking the penalties. And if you, or I'm sorry, taking the distributions. And if we don't, we're going to penalize. If you don't take the distributions, we're going to penalize you. So that's a good thing that they're extending it out. But the point is, they're extending it out because they know people are going to need it extended. They're not going to have enough early on to start withdrawing and get all the way to the end. So, you can look at it as good or bad. But my point is, why are people by the masses being conditioned to just funnel themselves into these single point failures? So here they're talking about, when you could take money out annually to cover expenses. So the Senate's version is $1,000 you could take out annually to cover emergency expenses, as if that'll cover a lot of an expense anymore. Well, how far does $1,000 not go? And you could avoid paying the 10% penalty if you're under 59 and a half years old. Well, now they're saying, well, in the Senate's version, you'd have to repay that money before another such distribution within 3 years. And again, the point of this is just layer after layer after layer of rules and regulations, and it's a threat of something negative happening to you via penalties and so forth, or taxes, if you don't do exactly what they want done. And that begs the question, why are people doing that? Why aren't they getting into things that give them the benefit of tax savings and freedom to pivot today, not 30 years from now? Why aren't they just taking control of that themselves? That's the point. And so let's see here. The House and Senate bills also differ over the savers credit. I found this interesting. Uh, a government match of sorts for lower income and middle income workers who put money into retirement accounts. Under the Senate bill, the government would put up to 1,000 annually into the retirement accounts of eligible workers starting in 2027. Wonder how they're going to pay for that. Could that fall on the Federal Reserve's balance sheet? Because think about it, we either got to produce more stuff that raises tax receipts, we got to create more money, or we got to cut our spending. And they're not going to cut the spending. I mean, can we really afford to cut military spending right now? Can we really afford to cut socials, or do we want to cut social spending right now and impact votes? Or do we just print the money and create and inflate it away? Well, we've done other videos on that. You guys, Code 3 Americans, already know the answer on that deal. So, point is, for eligible workers starting in 2027, regardless of whether they have an income tax liability. So what they're saying is, even if you have a zero income tax liability, maybe we'll still give you $1,000 if you fall within these income ranges. What's this? This is more division amongst society. If you're lower income, we're going to give you the money. If you're upper income, we're not. Does that maybe start to discourage productivity with young people? Why would I want to go out and take risk and work hard when I can just rely on the government? See, this is all single point failures, fatal funnel stuff we've talked about. That this is the direction. This is where the puck is going, as Wayne Gretzky would say. He's reading. If you're reading the game, it's clearly going one direction long term. So we're choosing to get out of the way of that, not get stuck in that funnel where we rely on all these central planners to do things that are advantageous for us. So here they're saying, okay, under the House version, the credit be only available to people with an income tax liability. So in other words, kind of like an investment. If you have a if you have a tax burden, they can offset some of your tax burden by doing what they want you to do. Okay, well, maybe that'd be better, certainly, than essentially just this kind of like universal basic income. Let's just give people stimmy checks. Well, that creates a wealth effect. Oh, yeah, we watched this movie recently, create a wealth effect, then people will spend more and just keep inflation higher. Wonder if that's all cooked, baked into the pudding here. But anyway, not to sound all conspiratorial, but you can connect the dots. I mean, just look what's been happening over the last few years. My point of this video is to show all the complexities um, that are going on here. So then we're talking about they could raise the age of the required retirement account distributions to 75. So in other words, there's a time that you have to start withdrawing money, and some are arguing that benefits the wealthy and the financial services industry, which typically earns fees based on the size of the retirement accounts. So that's it. It's a fee-based system. Wall Street is based in fees. That's why they don't want you out. The government doesn't want you out because they want you working. They don't want you to have access to that money now. They need workers, and they want you to have enough to not burden government social programs later in life. So they lock that money up so you don't go do something foolish. Well, as Code 3 Americans, we're not going to go buy foolish things anyway. We're going to take control of our own wealth and buy assets that produce streams of income with tax benefits today and cash flows today, and the ability to pivot as the economy moves around us, so we can always get out of the way of the trains, or try to, and get in the path of opportunity. So here they're talking about the new 401k, the new tax playbook for draining your 401k in retirement. So it talks about putting money into the 401k is simple. Yes. Taking money out often requires an exit strategy. What that's really translation, an exit strategy to avoid penalties and taxes. Okay. So it's easy to get in jail. It's hard to get out of jail. That's the point. Um, so the tax breaks baked into retirement accounts don't last forever. There are opportunities out there that they do. There are things you can do to not pay tax. Go read Tom Wheelwright's amazing books, Tax Free Wealth, not Tax Deferred Wealth. Read that book. It'll tell you how to do it. Tom's an awesome guy. So I look at this here, yet complicating the picture is recent IRS guidance that requires many who inherit retirement accounts. So if you're inheriting a retirement account, to drain them faster over 10 years instead of a lifetime. Well, when you start draining it faster, what's going to happen? Quicker tax receipts to them. So again, rule after rule after rule. It's easy to get in jail, hard to get out. That's the point. So withdrawals can be made earlier, but the IRS requires people 72 and older to withdraw, set a minimum amount annually, or face a 50% excise tax on the amount they should have taken. 50%? Come on. Why are people volunteering in the masses to do this? Why are we conditioning youth that this is the only way to save for wealth is get a job, get a 401 and pray. I'm sorry, 401 and K. As Tom would call it, a 401 and pray. But my point is, now they start to require you on the other end. They get you in the jailhouse easily, but then they start putting all these rules on, or they're going to penalize you. And they're talking about here that maybe they'd reduce the penalty. They didn't say get rid of the penalty. Maybe we'd get that down from 50% to maybe we can get it to a much more modest amount here. So you can read these articles, but let's see. There are potential downsides when required distributions do kick in. People might have to withdraw more money annually over a shorter period of time. So, in other words, if they raise the age, you only have so much lifespan left. You'd have to withdraw more over a shorter period of time. Oh, got you going again, triggering higher tax bills. So, my point is, penalties, excise taxes, higher tax bills. You're just trying to thread this needle around all of these rules and regulations that, frankly, nobody tells you even exists, when they convince you that the 401k is the only way to go when you're in your young working lifespan. Think of our kids and so forth, and what we're building with them over long term. When we're talking about those fatal funnels and other videos. In other words, what do I mean by that? We put ourselves in a position of disadvantage. In other words, a funnel. All these people come migrating through the funnel, and it comes down to one choke point: dependency on Wall Street and dependency on the government to inflate Wall Street, and then dependency on the government to pass rules or adjust rules that become advantageous to us. Why is that important? Doesn't that put them in a position of advantage? If that many people need them to do things for them, that puts them in a great, great position of power and control. That's the point. That's what the Code 3 American mission doesn't like. That's why we're talking about enriching humanity to save America through financial independence. What's the Save America piece? Ultimately, this all lands in degrees of socialism if we don't teach people how to take control of their own wealth, give real financial education. That's why if you go to our website, code3assets.com, it is full. Almost the whole website is dedicated towards free resources for people, free books, free podcasts, YouTube channels, all sorts of things, videos we create, just plugging people into information so they can make good decisions. There's also investment opportunities there. Sure. I don't care if you do it with us or you do it with other people. The point is just do it. Take control of this. Take the tax breaks today. Give yourself an ability to pivot and be nimble as the economy ultimately changes around you. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people stuck in that mousetrap right now. They want out of the market, the stock market, but they're going to get penalized and taxed if they do. So there's so many options out there for you. You can join our community at code3assets.com, so you can get around other like-minded Code 3 Americans who aren't going to tolerate this nonsense. We're taking control of our own lives and getting out of the way of, we're certainly not checking ourselves into jail on purpose. So until next time, we'll see you on the next video. Take care.